Okay, in this video we're going to show you how to take a 2D Eagleview report or either hand measurements and input the measurements into RoofLink to instead of doing an actual drawing. Alright, so you're going to open Eagleview, which I have on my right hand screen. You're going to open RoofLink. So you're going to go to the customer that you're attempting to get the roof measurements into. If you'll notice in this customer file that we have open in RoofLink, there's a roof drawing, which in most instances, your very first thing you want to do is actually just sketch the roof out. If it turns out, now you can't go by this too much when it comes to the image because you can zoom in on it and things too, and you can even open Google Earth and look at some historic images. If part of it's covered, but you need to see the way the roof is going, then you can look at those images and tie it back in. Typically, you could just drop an XML file right here, or your hover XML file right here if you're going to use those, and you can't get the roof sketch in. But so say we got a 2D Eagleview report. This is what it'll look like when an Eagleview is ordered. For some reason, Eagleview is not comfortable like calculating the pitches. The shadows aren't falling properly for them to be able to get it. So it's an algorithm of the pitch of the shadow at the time of the day that the image was taking, and the software calculates the pitches of the roof based off of that shadow on the ground. When in a scenario like this, the shadow is pitching into the woods, so it can't see what that shadow is on that property. So it comes back with one of these 2D extended coverage report. So what it can't calculate primarily is the pitch of the roof. So you can there's a button on these that say edit in your Eagleview. You'll open that up, and this is data that you will have to gather like on site yourself. And this what it's asking is like, what are the pitches of these slopes on this property? It looks like it was able to get one. I don't know if that's correct. Sometimes that part's wrong, like if it can't read the shadow right. It looks like it's trying to read this low shadow right here and making this a one pitch. I'm positive that's not a one pitch roof. I'm just going to assign a 712 to all planes, and it'll drop that in. And it's, most houses have a little variation. Like this probably right here is a different pitch than this is. But anyway, in terms of this, I could change that to a 9, not a 79, but a 9. So that would be a 912, and you can click Save Report. And what it'll do, it will generate a full report at that point. With these pitches entered in, it can calculate the actual roof itself. So you can just download the report that's been finished, open it up, and it's going to give you the measurements as well as the so I can tell you right now, this is a problem on here. See how this doesn't show a ridge as to where this part of the house actually has a ridge right here. That's not a flat roof, but that doesn't matter too much. So you're able to get your measurements through this. I'm not positive if it will do I'm going to show you another way here in a second anyway, but I wanted to see if it would give you an XML file out of a 2D report that you can upload. But when it really comes down to it, if you're saying your roof drawing has failed, this is what it's calculating as the roof size here, and this is the other data that we really need. We need our ridge lengths. We need our eaves and starter. So our eaves is where the water leaves the roof. There's usually a gutter there. Rakes are the part that are angled up. So if you're looking at the front of a gable, it's the part that's a triangle that's sticking up. That's called a rake. The valleys are, of course, that's what they say they are. They're a valley where water flows through. hips, like so. There's two different types of roofs: a gable and a hip roof. And hips are ones that mostly have eaves all the way around. But in this property, I see no hips, so it's not showing any in that. So in terms of it is going to give you an XML. So you can just put the pitches in and download the XML file, and then upload it into Eagleview like we shown in the previous videos. But let's go back and look at this. Like, so let's say we hand sketch this out, and we got all these measurements, and this is what we ended up with. So there is a way, like, you know, you wouldn't be able to download an XML if you drew the roof and actually diagrammed it in the previous video. So there's a roof measurements tab here. So you could enter this data in on this side, and it's the same data that's provided here, but if you were measuring it, you could just add up all of your rakes, which would be here, 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 the green line here, 20, 17, 18, 16, 17, and all of your eaves, 24, 14, 39, 13, this would be 13 again, 39 again, 19, which is probably wrong, 24, and then it's showing the eaves, the rakes on this one is being 13, so that means that's pitched. This is showing 19 here in the front and 13 back here, so this would be an eave. So you could add all those things together. You can add your ridges together, and come up with the right number. So let's just go through that real quick. Like, say we did the math and we calculated it out, and you use the waste factor sheet that's below, and you come up with what the roof squares are. This is saying it's suggesting 38.33% and the 8% waste factor. But just always notice that hovers and Eagleviews do not take account for starter strip, ridge, and hip products. So those are all shingles, and they have to be added to the actual shingle waste factor. So additional material needed for hip, ridge, starter links are not included in the above table. The provided waste factor is intended to serve as a guide. Actual weight percentages may differ based on several variables. The Eagleview does not control these factors. These waste factors vary and include but are not limited to individual installation techniques, crew experiences, asphalt shingle material, potential salvage from the site. Individual results may vary based on the suggested waste factor. So it just does not include the hip, ridge, products. So I would say on this roof that is a 10% roof, but and that's what the waste factor chart would say. So we're going to go with 10%, which is saying is 39 squares. But what it's going to do here, it's going to want you to put a waste factor in. So you can do this two ways. You can punch in your 0% waste and actually put your waste factor here and drop your 10% in which case you would want to put this 35.66 squares in. You could do that, and that's going to be fine because it's 35.66 with a 10% waste. Similarly, it would come up the same if you did 39 squares, which is what it's showing is the 10% waste factor. And then you did a 0% waste because that is the exact same number. It's just the software is not doing any math for you here. Your predominant pitch, we put that in as a 7. So we called that a 712 whenever I just guessed that number. All right, so your eave linear footage. Let's go back up to the diagram of this roof because we're pretending like you've drawn a diagram of this roof and measured it. So your eave lengths is showing 218 feet, and that's the number that we're going to put in here. But let's talk about how we get it. So the ridge is the highest point. The eave is the lowest point. The rake is the sloped part from ridge to eave. And it's the perimeters because we've got products that we have to put around those when we're doing a roof. So in terms of calculating our eaves, we've got 13 through 2 times, so 26. Plus we've got 39 2 times, so that would be 78. plus we've got 19 here on this eave, plus we have 14. It's calling that 19 right there, but honestly this is going to be the same length as this, so we're going to call this 28. And then we got 24 two times, so we've got 48. All right, so it's showing 218 feet. I don't know where the variance is on that, or why it would say that. I added all those up, because, yeah. So this probably honestly is the real measurement here, but we'll go with this 218. But that's all you do, is just add up everywhere where a gutter could be. And that's your eave. All right, so rake. So like I said, it's the part that goes from the ridge down to the gutters. And we're looking at our perimeter edges. So you couldn't put a gutter on this because it's sloped. Your gutter would just lay sideways and on an angle. So you'd add up all the green lines: 18, 17, 18, 20, 18, 20, 17, 18, 16, and 17. I can tell you right now that this diagram is totally wrong. There's never occurrences, or very rarely an occurrence, where a slope is longer on one side of a ridge than the other side of a ridge. So this should be 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, or it could be 20, 20, 18, 18. This could be dangerous for you as a salesperson to punch these numbers in, because if the numbers come up short on build day, then that gets backed out of commission. So you want to make sure that your numbers are correct. This is going to be an extreme occurrence where something like this even has to happen, because in almost all cases you can do your roof sketch from inside of the roof drawing portion of RoofLink. Anyway, for this purpose, we're just going to go ahead and enter this this rake length at 209, which is what it's showing. So it should be the same as if I said and punched in all these green numbers together, which would make it 209. Okay. And then our hip linear foot is 0 foot, because there's no hips on this roof at all. So a hip would be like if this was an eave, and this was an eave, and this was an eave, and then a hip ran to this corner. So every slope would be pitched, and you could put a gutter all the way around it. But these are rakes, and they're raised up, so that means this side of the house is a gable end. So 0 hips. Our ridge footage is the very tip top of the roof. So everything in red in this diagram is a ridge. So we've got 12, 39, 12, and 24. It's calling it 88 feet. So I'll go ahead and punch that in. All right, and then on this drawing, that actually is the roof measurement. So it's in there, and you can build your measurements. You can build your estimates off of that. Probably need to refresh. And you could go in and create a an estimate off of the individual roof measurements that you've entered into the system. So it's a way of kind of calculating that without having that XML file uploaded. And so it's going to plop everything in here. You'll have your estimate. Now a customer may want to upgrade or something, but this particular one I put in that it was an American Pledge of Warranty, so it's automatically dropping in the felt and the starter shingles. So let's see. Let's just go over roof drawings one more time though, because I want to illustrate how simple that actually is. So if we're going to draw this roof, I'm going to get it where I can see as much of it as possible. You're going to create building, click, click, that's a rake, then down to here, that's a rake. We're going to come over to here, and then we're going to come back out just a little bit because there's another little point there. All these are eaves, so I'm not worrying too much about see, and I've got some tree coverage, but I can still get an idea for the shape of this roof. This dot, I can't click here because it would be me selecting this. So I'm going to put it out here, and then I'm just going to drag it back into where it needs to go. You've noted it got a little wild with this one, so I can pull it back in. And then this one, oh, that should be fun. So I'm going to bring my other one out here, and then I'm really coming back to right in that nook, and then out here, and I'm going to bring this one back to right there. And then my edge of that one is here. I've got another one, but it's going to be on the inside, and then back to that. All right, so I've went all the way around the house. I actually had an rake right here that I forgot to mark as a rake, but that's okay. I'll show you how to go back and fix that. So I just click finished, and then I'm going to run through. I'm going to put it back on 712 because that's what we said it was on the other one, and we'll leave the 7% waste factor. Okay, so I'm going to take and go ahead and add all of my accessories on there now. So my ridges, I'm not going to be too specific. This ridge runs all the way front to back. There's not really any need to step it because it does go all the way across it. I do want to get my there's no valleys, but I want to get the rakes that I missed because it does need drip edge on those. So I'm going to bring it to there. I'm going to come from there to there. Then I'll go from there to there. And this is a lot of drip edge, so you do not want to miss these rakes. This was also pitched, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that into a rake. That to that is a rake. There to there, there to there, there to there's a rake. Okay, so I got my rakes on. I haven't seen what it has in terms of pipe boots, but I see what looks to be 3 right here, and there's some type of flue, and it looks like there's a chimney right here. Don't know what's on it. Like when it really comes down to it, you'll be out there on the site, so you'll be able to see those things. If they want ridge vents, you can click ridge vents, and it'll pop back up and show you the ridges. Can I select it? I think it's just not highlighting those, but so the other things it needs, it's going to need a lot of step flashing, right? So everything from there to there is step flashing, from here to here, here to here. And we've got some apron flashing where this lower roof hits the siding. So you want to change that, go down here to flashing, and you're just going to drag this across it. Also got some, it looks like this is 2-story, but I'm not going to, well, let's just go ahead and create a 2-story section. All right, so let's call this 2-story. If it's got a 2-story section, you have to highlight it because the crew gets paid a different amount for doing 2-story, and this thing generates their work order for them. So you just click finished after you've highlighted your 2-story section. I'll just call that middle part as being a 2-story section. The accessories. So this is where it lets you select. So the biggest thing that you've got is pipe boots. So if this is an insurance job, you want to select the ones in the insurance field. But if it's a retail job, you can just select pipe boot. So shingles, pipe boot, 3-in-1 EPS black. Okay. So I'm going to say there's one there, there, and there. So that's dropping 3 pipe boots on. We're going to drop a small chimney. And I'll just select, I'm just going to do the apron flashing and I'm going to drop it twice. If the apron flashing is 10 foot long, so I don't know how big that chimney is because I'm not out there to measure how much apron flashing we need for it, but this will make sure that it's usually on the truck anyway, so not a terribly big deal, but it is good to get that on there because there's a price involved with that the customer has to pay for it. So we got ease brakes. All right, looks like we're all done. So I'm going to click finished. It's going to drop all my measurements on. It looks like there is some differences in what it's saying there. It's like it's saying 17, showing 17 here. Looks like a 16. My rakes are overlaying the other measurements. But anyway, so looking at the square count, this is showing 36.7 squares. So this is actually right. This one is this one's going to be a little over, I think, in its square count. So it would be because it's showing like 38.33. Anyway, so this is also not calculating the ridges in this part. It is taking account for them here, and then when you go into your estimate section, it's going to add the price of those ridge shingles and the starter strip shingles. It'll add those onto it as well. So that is something that you'll see in there. So in all actuality, that will probably end up being exactly that number when those things get added on there. But if you ever need to delete the house and start over, you can hit the trash can. If you need to change where your dots are at, you can click this one. Or if you want to rename it something else, change your pitch, change your waste. It's all right there in that button. But all right, that's how you measure roof and enter your measurements into the roof measurement section. You punch all that in here. And 2, how to do the extended coverage and add your pitches to get your XML file to work in Eagleview. And 3, went back over how to do the roof drawing again. If you have any questions, let us know.